Thanks. There they go.
I need off the God and step into the fire. Folk versus Doberia, fueled with desire. Triple C doors, ready to go ignite. The race and beat boy, MMA ready to fight. Dreams are warriors, they never back down. Sizzle as a heat seeking people rockets, they hold the ground. UFC tonight, it's a battleground. In the thunder, in the chaos, champions are found.
UFC 298, Meat Boy finally here, a card that I feel like we've been talking about forever at this point. And real quick, shout out to the OG homies as always, Diesel, aka Pure Onageization. Shout out Joe Dirt. Shout out anyone who has been rocking with Meat Boy MMA. And if you're here to talk some smack, do that as well. But I feel like the numbers are speaking for themselves, Meat Boy. Another pretty clean week last week. I know the Meatlock was a little bit off, and we'll get to that. But 4-2 for your boy last week, 2-4 for you. What were your thoughts? What stood out last week? I mean, the first thing I think of is Devin Clark came out and got absolutely smoked by Prachnau. We both dropped that one, but what stood out last week?
Yeah, that was purely embarrassing by, Devin Clark. Like, I just can't believe he didn't try to grapple one time. Pretty horrendous. Not what I anticipated. I don't know if he got a bag to stand up the whole time or what, but he should have ground and pound smashed him. I don't know what happened there. And then, man, do I feel bad for Andre Fili. Like, no one puts that guy out like that. But apparently Dan Ige just has absolute coconut bombs in those fists. So at least, he's carrying the Hawaiian coconut bombs in the fist, unlike Coconut Bomb that got cut. But yeah, that was a crazy fight. That was truly unfortunate. I thought that was going to be a one-sided wrestling mauling. Boy, was I wrong. That was crazy. So yeah, Danny Ige, you can never underestimate him. He's just so dang good. It just makes the guys that have been beating him just look even that much better, to be honest, which is crazy to me that someone's even beaten Danny Ige at that division. But yeah, truly unfortunate with the Meatlock, like you said. Oh, Body Bags was looking so sharp that first round. I was like, oh, he's done. It's game over. Money in the bag. Meatlock once again. And then Two Pump Chump, apparently. Two Pump Chump came through, and he gassed out. He got poked in the eye with a knuckle. He thought it was a finger job, but it was actually a knuckle job this time. And it was just all downhill from there. He lost an eye, his calves. He didn't check one calf, which you would think he would learn that by now, but training since he was 4, he says. So truly unfortunate, but I think he'll bounce back. I have hopes for him. High hopes still.
Yeah, all sorts of good stuff for sure. I mean, you mentioned the Ige over Touchy-Feely knockout before we recap that Meatlock, but yeah, Ige brought up the Hawaiian hammers for sure. Absolutely slept Feely. We had Born Breach, Bad Vibes, bumping in the background, and it ended up being a little bit of foreshadowing for Feely. Bad vibes for Andre, but nonetheless, great statement for Ige, punishing first round KO for him. And again, the Body Bags free hot on the Meatlock, and you kind of already summarized a little bit, but I thought he looked great early. That first round, he was putting it on Jack, really pushing the pace. He had Jack on the back foot, won the first round easy. The second round was a little bit closer. Jack the Joker turned it a little bit in his favor towards the latter half of the second round, but still all 3 judges gave it to Body Bags. So Body Bags was up 2-0. Everything was looking great, and then suddenly it wasn't. What do you think attributed to the downfall? What was it specifically that Joker did in that third round to really turn the tides against Body Bags and give us a Meatlock L?
No, it really was that that eye punch was kind of seemed like it was the turn of events, really. But those calf kicks, he was not checking any of them, so it just kept adding up more and more. But honestly, what won the Joker the fight was his jab. Every time, Body Bags didn't move his head off center, not one time. And Joker was just he was throwing the Max Holloway. Lots of volume, just crisp, sharp jabs, and those add up. That damage really takes a toll over time. I mean, you look at Body Bags in the post, like hours after the fight, it looked like he was in a crazy roar and got beat up so bad by haymakers. No, it was just a simple jab. All those just kept adding up, putting more damage on the face, making him swell up. And it seemed like it kind of broke him mentally. Like, he could have won that fight in the 5th round. But he was broken mentally. I think a lot of that had to do with fatigue. Makes me wonder, is he a 205er? Is that weight cut too intense for him? Because he's a big boy. He walks naturally around 230, and he cuts a 185. Like that is absolutely insane. So I don't know. We might be seeing body bag go up to 205, especially with his age as he gets older. He is young still, so he can maybe make it, but I didn't like the results of that fight. I didn't like the 5 rounds. I think with this massive cut, he's only got 3 rounds in him. If he's got to do 5 rounds, he's got to go to 205. It's just too much weight. He is such a big dude with so much muscle. A lot of muscle, less gas tank. I mean, DC Infinite Gas Tank, dude is just nothing but thicky.
Yeah, good points for sure. Was definitely discouraging for a first 5 round affair for body bags, and yeah, something happened in that third round too, where he couldn't give what he gave in those first 10 minutes, and you do wonder what is next for body bags. You got to imagine the UFC machine is still going to be behind him. I mean, Jack the Joker is an OG, double-digit UFC fight veteran, has been in the top 5 for a long time, so I doubt that they're going to just abandon the body bags hype train yet. So they'll probably give him some winnable opponent next, or at least a tough fight, but one that he could be competitive in. We were speculating maybe he gets the loser of Paul Craig versus Kyle Bahalio. That could be very interesting if, in fact, he stays at 185, or if if there's something to that and he opts up to 205. I don't know. What does Body Bags versus Alex Pereira look like? What does Body Bags versus Magomed Ankalaev look like? There could be some interesting fights up there. I don't know how well I think he will fare, but nonetheless, you mentioned that jab of the Joker. You comped it similar to the black jab, Carlos Olberg, right? Just sticking that jab out, and it was money. Body Bags had no response for it. So, nonetheless, picked up a Meatlock L, our 51st overall. We're still chilling in the green, and obviously we're going to keep the Meatlock going this week, which we'll talk about the Meatlock here in a second. But any other fights stand out? I mean, Rodolfo Vieira, we were all over that one. First round, easy light work submission over Petrosian. RoboCop got the finish over Tavares. We said that that was going to happen. So some pretty good calls from us there. Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, RoboCop really is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, that dude is scary. Everyone talks about his grappling. Everyone talks about his grappling. The announcers talk about it. I know a good amount. His grappling is absolutely insane. He's a world champ level, like jiu-jitsu practitioner, wrestler, all that. And he doesn't even use it. And he's that good on the feet. His strength, there's no, like, makes me question, like, is this dude even natural? What am I looking at? This guy is an absolute specimen. I'm excited to see what he's had a few hiccups, but he seems like he always improves every other fight. He gets better and better. Takes an L or gets beat up bad, comes back stronger. So I have high hopes for him. He's exciting to watch too. You gotta love him. He's just an absolute savage. RoboCop's a G for sure.
Yeah, RoboCop is an absolute unit. Rodolfo Vieira was looking like an absolute unit, and both guys got some brilliant finishes in their fights for sure. So, lastly, Jeremiah Wells kind of fumbled the bag again, split decision loss. I had Max Griffin. That fight could have gone either way, but any final thoughts on Fumble Live before we jump into the 298 breakdowns?
Yeah, it does seem like Mr. Fumble Wells. I said I'd give him one more chance. That was my final straw. If you can't beat Max Griffin, dude, what are you doing? He's 38. He's donezo. He's only going to get worse from here with his age. He is a specimen. His strength is unmatched, from my opinion. But he's a one-pump chump. After that first round, all that muscle, all that strength, all that beast mode just goes away. So it's really starting to make me question beyond Sean Brady, who can really go hard for 3 to 5 rounds. It doesn't seem like any of them can. I mean, Petrosky, body bags, and now so I really hope Team Body Bag stops going beast mode for 2 minutes and they start going beast mode for 50 minutes, and then 25 minutes will be easy. Um, so yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But I hope that these guys bounce back. Jeremiah Wells should just get cut. He's an absolute bomb, but he's a specimen, so they'll probably keep him around until he retires.
He is a specimen, and just a rough day for Wells and Body Bags Pfeiffer. We do know Body Bags is better at fighting, though, than he is Fortnite. So, nonetheless, he should be back. And switch it up, Meat Boy. Transition us right into the Meatlock, because I'm ready to break this thing down. Merab Dvalishvili is coming back. Merab is absolutely due for an easy Meatlock win over Triple C. The former double champ, obviously all the respect in the world to Henry Cejudo. The dude is a legend, one of the greatest combat sports fighters of all time. 16-3 overall, 8-3 in the UFC, but he just fired his head coach Eric Albarracin. Seems like he's planting the seeds for, I don't want to say an excuse of a performance this weekend, but one where he's running into an absolute machine. Merab Dvalishvili, who is 9-2 in the UFC, could easily be 11-0, right? His debut was a controversial split decision to Frankie Saenz, and then we mentioned all the time, but that literal final second loss to Ricky Simone, where had he just not gone unconscious, he would have won a decision there as well. So he's won 9 straight fights, and we've just been impressed with how Merab has been doing it. I mean, the fighter that he was against Peter Yan, and we know that that was last year, about a year ago to the date, but that version of Merab just seemed like an unstoppable force. I mean, the dude literally shot 50 plus takedowns and somehow never got tired. So we were mentioned Rodolfo Vieira, absolute unit, CEO of EPO style, and Merab is that times a million. So what are your thoughts on this Meatlock? How do you anticipate Triple C faring in this one? Is it going to be close? I mean, we're obviously rolling Merab with the Meatlock, but is this fight going to be close or an absolute body sesh?
You know, I do feel bad for Henry Cejudo because he's come up on the other end of the stick of the meat lock, and this is juicy beef for the boys. And Merab's going to absolutely decimate the Scottsdale Snobsdale boy, Mr. Henry. Henry, I don't know if it's he's sniffing his own farts, buying all these yes men. He got rid of his coach of 50 years or whatever, 20 years. He's the coach that took him to the gold medalist, all this stuff. Basically made Henry who he is today, and he just dusted him. So it kind of shows, is he trying to get more money because he knows he's already going to lose half because Merab's such a lock? Or is he sniffing his own farts and he didn't like that his coach was saying, hey, don't do this, and he needs more yes men because Henry, he knows it all. He goes, oh, I know what I did wrong. I can win versus Funk. I know what I did wrong. I know. So we'll see. I think he's sniffing mad farts, and Merab's going to absolutely expose that. Ever since Merab went headfirst into the absolute massive iceberg and nothing happened, I mean, this dude is the real life Terminator. He does not sleep. He does not eat. He does not gas out. He is a true life Terminator. Icebergs can't even knock him out. So how is Henry Cejudo going to? It's just not going to happen, unfortunately. So this is a lock nonetheless.
Yeah, ever since that ice smash, he's seemingly just become an even more unlocked, jailbroken, insane version of himself. Just the ICEO of EPO times 1,000. Because Merab is literally unstoppable at this point, and it was literally that moment when he took it to that next level. And if we're looking at his recent wins, again, we mentioned the Peter Yan fight. That was just start to finish 5 rounds of absolute body sesh over Peter Yan, who is an absolute GOAT in the division. And he did the same thing to Jose Aldo across 3 rounds, had the performance of the night finish over Marlon Moraes, and then obviously had the early win against Brad Katana, the 2-time tough winner, which is pretty whack. But nonetheless, Merab on an absolute tear. Tapology agrees with the Meat Boys. 77% is rolling with Merab. 23% is going with Cejudo. It's basically based on both sides. So we're rolling with the machine, Dvalishvili, back to a 3-round fight for him when compared to that last 5-rounder. Any chance Dvalishvili gets a finish in this one, or is decision safe?
I think decision is safe, but with Henry getting older, it would not surprise me if Merab gets a KO. But it's not really in his repertoire to get those nasty KOs. But the older you get, the easier you fall. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. It's a fun freaking fight, that is for sure.
Yeah, it's fun for sure. We're going a little bit heavier than last week, throwing down an easy 396 to net 200. We're still in the green as of this moment. Obviously, after this successful meatlock, we'll be chilling again, but got a little bit of work to do as a result of the Piper fumble from last week. But nonetheless, we have Merab to get us back on track. I like Merab by decision too, but I want to be checking those late finish numbers for Merab as well. Maybe in a round 3 finish, if you're getting something plus 1400, I think that could have some life for sure. But Merab is the meatlock all the way. Transition us over to Tafa, the Tafa meathead versus Deligma. This is an interesting one. Justin Tafa, not quite junior, is coming off a nice win, KO performance of the night over Austin Lane. And Austin Lane came in 7 foot tall, ready to brawl, but got absolutely slept and hit the ground hard. So Tafa, we know, is a meat slinging meat hammer. He's coming up against Deligma, though, who was kind of peaking, right? He had won 4 or 5, he made that jump up to heavyweight and was having some success, but he ran into Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis back up against the wall, catches him with just a sweet YOLO flying knee, Masvidal style, and Deligma went to absolute sleep within 30 seconds. So Deligma is coming in having just been cracked, and he's fighting up against a guy who all he does is crack. So in this one, Meat Boy, it's basically a pick'em, but you taking Justin Tafa as a slight dog, or is Deligma going to rebound?
No, no, I love this matchup, and honestly, I like that Tafa is a dog. I mean, both these guys are battle of the bombs, battle of getting snuffed, but I just think Tafa throws massive meat bombs. I mean, I think Deligma is gonna have to take it to the ground to win this one, to be honest. And Tafa's a lot younger, so I do like that he's younger. He is a dog. He throws bombs. All it takes is one, as Derek Lewis showed. So yeah, I gotta pick Tafa on this, and I think he'll get it done first round KO.
Yeah, I could definitely see that for sure. I mean, when Tafa wins, historically, that is what he's doing, right? He's winning by first round finish. He did that to Austin Lane. The fight before that was an eye poke. The fight before that did it to Parker Meat Boy Porter. Porterhouse Steak got absolutely sizzled in 56 seconds. So and Harry Hunsucker did the exact same. I think we might even meatlock that one just because anytime you see Harry Hunsuck, you always meatlock the opponent. But nonetheless, if Tafa can't put out Deligma in that first round, are you concerned at all? Because I mean, again, this dude only wins by first round finish, and Deligma has found ways to survive round ones at times. So, are you going Tafa first round finish or bust, or are there alternative pathways where maybe Tafa can win outside of just the first round?
I think Tafa is going to either win first round. I think he could win second round, but the longer the fight goes, I just don't have much faith in that. But honestly, it's gonna really surprise me if this goes the distance. But yeah, I think the longer the fight goes, the worse it's gonna be for Tafa.
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it, Meat Boy. And I don't know, something tells me that Deligma is going to find a way to survive those first dangerous few minutes. And as a result, I'm going to be taking Deligma in this one. It's interesting, though, because even though Deligma is a slight favorite, around minus 140, plus 124 Tafa, Tapology is pretty bullish on Tafa. I mean, it's basically Tafology out there because 73% is rolling with Tafa, basically all brown, and only 27% is rolling with Pazao, not quite faux foul. So are you at all surprised that Tapology is as bullish on Topology?
No, I think the odds makers are missing it, and I think all the casuals like me are totally seeing it that Tafa's gonna win via KO.
Yeah, we shall see. I'm going to Ligma by, I'm going to say second round submission because Tafa is gassing out. But nonetheless, move us on over to what do we got next, Meat Boy? Fluffy versus Kopylov. Sometimes he's a copy lock, but he's taking on Anthony Hernandez in this one. And Anthony Hernandez, what can you say about him? I mean, the guy is on just a sick win streak, 4 in a row, and took out your boy Edmund Shabazian most recently, Marc-Andre Barriault before that. He's in an interesting spot, though, because historically, when we've seen Fluffy Hernandez, this is a guy who's usually like a 2-1, sometimes 3-1 underdog and finds a way to get it done. But in this one, he's opening up a main card, and he's a 2-1 favorite against Roman Kopylov, who himself is riding a 4-fight win streak, and a performance of the night most recently when he absolutely easy light work slept Josh Fremd in the first round. So, what are your thoughts on this one, Meat Boy? Do you like Fluffy as a 2-1 favorite? Are the odds makers and everyone else finally coming around and getting Fluffy Hernandez, or does this sound like a bad recipe?
I think this is probably going to be a pretty easy fight for Fluffy. Fluffy's been looking absolutely stupendous, getting better and better, stronger and stronger. His grappling looks insane, but this is probably going to be the dark horse, his hardest fight yet. Copy Love, aka Copy Lock. He stinks, but yet he's successful always. He's kind of like a Dreekus, maybe even better, but he'll never be a champion like Dreekus. But I just think that this is gonna be a tough fight, but Hernandez is a G. He is Mr. Fluff, and I think the fluffiness is gonna take him to victory this time.
Yeah, and Fluffy keeps getting better and better. Every time we see him, it's like, dang, Fluffy managed to level up again. And you mentioned Kopylov. He has a nice win streak, but if you start to dissect the wins, they aren't the best guys, right? Josh Fremd most recently, Claudio Ribeiro, who is a solid 4-minute fighter, Punahele Soriano, we were talking about earlier in the cast. He's the GOAT of Bellator, and then Alessio Di Chirico got absolutely slept, and he's pretty bad too. So Fluffy though, Shabazian, Marc-Andre Barriault, and then he took out Rodolfo Vieira, and that was really the fight that opened up a lot of initial eyes towards Fluffy because he was a sizable dog, a purple belt on record, going up against the black belt killer in Rodolfo, but nonetheless, Fluffy emerged with his belt, and that was just amazing stuff. But if we look, Tapology is pretty bullish on Copy Lock, Meat Boy. So I want to talk about that. 63% is rolling with Roman, 38% going with Fluffy, and the majority of the Hernandez backers are going with that copper sub. So they think it's more of the suffocating boa constrictor like stuff on the ground for Hernandez if he wins. But 63% and all brown for Copy Love KO. Any thoughts on that?
That surprises me. I don't think Fluffy gets KO'd at all. Best case is Kopylov wins via decision, but I just don't even see that. I just think this is going to be a one-sided, a tough, good fight, but Fluffy's going to show that he is the better, more superior fighter anywhere the fight goes, the ground, the stand-up, etc.
Yeah, Fluffy did get finished by Kevin Holland, and that was a weird fight where it was over in 40 seconds. So you would hate to see something similar for Kopylov. And we also know Kopylov, when he's been winning on this recent UFC tear, has been all by KO. So maybe the Tapology backers are thinking that they're connecting the dots and that Hernandez getting slept in this one. But I'm with you, Meat Boy. I'm going to be abstaining from it personally just because I do think that there is some unknowns. I mean, again, Hernandez usually a dog on the prelim. Suddenly he's a 2-1 favorite opening up a main card. I think that can bring some associated and unique anxieties for sure. So at minus 200, it's enough for me to stay away from Hernandez. But for Meat Boy, the pick is definitely Fluffy Hernandez. I think he should get this one done. I think he's a more well-rounded fighter than Roman Kopylov. And I haven't seen Kopylov tested in the grappling too mightily just yet. And I mean, he lost to Duraev, lost to Carl Roberson early in his UFC career. So perhaps there's a recipe there for Fluffy to take this thing to the mat and really do some damage there. So I'm going to go Fluffy. I'm going to go by submission. Any last ones, thoughts on that one, or should we move over to Lemos?
Yeah, no, let's go over to Lemos. This is a fun fight. Throw in the comments, though, are you thinking Fluffy's a little fluff, or is he going to get stuffed? But yeah, let's go over to Lemos.
Yeah, is it Fluffy? Is it a copy lock? Let us know for sure. But Amanda Lemos and Mackenzie Dern, you and I were just talking before the cast started. Mackenzie Dern literally just got slept by Jessica Andrade. That was in November, and I mean that was 4 months ago, and she ate a lot of pretty heavy shots in that fight. I mean, yeah, I don't want to say it was like a mercy stoppage, but it was a fight where she was lucky she didn't end up eating more shots at the end, and Jessica Andrade really just put it on her. So now 4 months later, she's coming in against another pretty lethal Brazilian puncher in Amanda Lemos, who is 13-3-1. She just fought for a title, right? She got the opportunity against Wang Jie Li, and she put up a pretty good fight in the contest, but obviously the Zanger is just too good, and it was a deserved shot because this is a woman who had won basically 9 of 10 fights. She took out Marina Rodriguez, beat Angela Hill, had some nice wins. She beat the Karate Hottie, so some good stuff for Lemos in route to that opportunity, but she did end up getting smoked in the opportunity. But Mackenzie Dern, again, just came in, got slept a few months ago. She's been alternating wins and losses for the past couple of years now. Is this the fight that gets Dern back on track, or is this a bad matchup and too quick of a rushed opportunity for Mackenzie Dern?
You know, I think you're right there on the point of I think this is too rushed for Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern got absolutely outclassed, snuffed, outstrength, everything. Mackenzie Dern has been looking great. She's been leveling up, but then she gets to the top gatekeeper Andrade, and it was like, oh, this is sad. I could see something similar. Lemos kind of just demolished Rodriguez, and I think the same thing's gonna happen because Rodriguez beat Dern, and I don't know. This is not a good take. I worry for Mackenzie Dern. She might be on different platforms soon because it seems that she's got lots of bills to pay. That's too many fights in my opinion this quick, and it seems that she's an urgent. So I do feel bad for her. I feel that she's gotta go grind for the bag, but this is going to be a very sad one to see because she's probably getting knocked out first round.
Yeah, and obviously there could be a myriad of opportunities for Mackenzie Dern with whatever she decides to do for sure. But Yeah, you touched on the activity, right? Like it's interesting to see how active Mackenzie Dern is, and you got to respect it. Like that's awesome. Go get your bag, but at some point you wonder if the time off can be good, especially when coming off of such a brutal stoppage loss. But if we look at Tapology Boy, it's been interesting because a lot of Dern fans have been riding her throughout these last couple fight cards. I don't think I've ever seen such a Dern minority. She's only getting 25% of the backers here, and 75% is rolling with Lamos, and basically 68% of the Lemos backers think that she's going to knock out Mackenzie Dern. So they're kind of following us in the sense that too much too soon, 4 months later, additional Brazilian power puncher likely equals another KO Sleeptown. So are you picking Lemos by early finish KO?
Yeah, I think it is going to be early finish KO to be honest. Um, yeah, I gotta go Lemos. I hope Dern wins. I'll be rooting for her, but I think Lemos is low key actually pretty solid for the women's division in that division, and I think she's just a step up from what Mackenzie Dern can handle.
Yeah, I think the only question mark for me would be how does she return after having just got so outclassed in the title fight versus Wang Jie Li? She's 36 years old. Maybe she realizes that was her opportunity, and it's a pipe dream to not only get back there again, but then find a way to beat the Chinese champion if somehow she does get back there. So maybe that could provide some sort of recipe for the Dern rebound. But I'm with you. I'm going to go Lemos. I think that at basically pick'em value, and with Dern having just got slept, there could be some value for Almondina, but I'm going to be checking out Lemos by decision because I can see this fight being a little bit of a snoozer. Both women sort of apprehensive early, both not trying to, both fighting not to lose essentially, and it being kind of a snoozer throughout the first half of the fight. So I'm going to go Lemos to pick it up in the later rounds, ultimately win by decision. But it's kind of an interesting fight. And yeah, any last thoughts on this one, or what do we got next?
No, it is an interesting fight. It's an interesting matchup, but more interesting on how fast her return is after that brutal KO. Throw in the comments, are you guys taking Waifu Dern or Lemos? And do you think that Dern's going to get snuffed? Throw it down there, and yeah, let's
Yeah.
get to the next one.
Yeah, is she getting snuffed is the question for sure. And someone gets snuffed in this next one when Jeff Neal, Battle of the Strikers, takes on Ian Machado Gary. And this one should be fun. This was a fight that was originally supposed to be on UFC 92. There were some health complications for Ian Gary in that one, which forced him to withdraw. But nonetheless, he's back in this one. We anticipate that he will show up to the fight press conference at some time this week. And he's got the same opportunity, a winnable one against Jeff Neal, who Hands of Steel is an absolute dog in this division. I mean, this guy, when he just fought most recently, was against Shavkat Rakhmonov, and Shavkat has been going through and absolutely just destroying everyone. He hasn't really been in a close fight, but Jeff Neal really made it interesting against Shavkat, and it was a clear decision win or a clear submission win for Shavkat, but it was very late in the third round with only about 40 seconds to spare, and fight was pretty close throughout the contest. So we got to see Shavkat in a competitive fight for a first time, and for Jeff Neal to bring that out of him, I thought was just a testament to how good this guy is. And it made sense because the fight before that, he smoked Vicente Luque, got performance of the night, and beat Ponzinibbio before that. The guy has wins over Bilal Muhammad, Nico Price, Mike Perry. I mean, the dude really is up there as far as talent is concerned. But we know that Ian Gary is, a lot of people believe, the next GOAT in this 170 division. This is a guy who is obviously attracting a lot of sort of infamy online. The fans are kind of turning on Ian Gary at this point, but the skills keep providing him wins. I mean, he's 13-0. He's smoking everyone, whether it's a performance of the night finish over D-Rod or a unanimous decision over a guy like Neil Magny. You can't argue with what Ian Gary is doing inside of the cage, despite all of the noise that's happening outside of it. So in this one, it's a great levels test. Hands of Steel always brings it. You taking Hands of Steel Neil in this one, or is Ian Gary going to make this one look easy too?
Man, I hate to say this because I'm not a fan, but I think Ian Gary Machado, whatever his name is actually going to get this done. I mean, uh, his nutritionist is an absolute G. That's what I've heard at least. Everyone loves him. Ian really loves his nutritionist. But so I think that nutrition's really going to help him in this fight. You have Jeff Neal, Hands of Steel. He's partying. He's getting wild, and I think that he's great defense on takedowns, but Machado ain't gonna, shoot. He's gonna stand and bang. He's got the reach. He's got the speed. I don't know. This is I'm very curious to see how this goes because, like you said, the Shavkat, that was a crazy fight and that was pretty competitive when everyone thought Shavkat was untouchable because he looked like that. So I wonder, is Hands of Steel going to be that guy? I hope he is. That either shows that Ian Gary's human and that he could lose, or he knocks him out. I hope that happens, but I think Ian Gary might be the real deal, and I think he's going to make light work.
Yeah, Ian Gary is to me also the real deal. He's definitely passing the eye test. I mean, for me, it was that competition over D-Rod that really solidified it. Like he made that look so easy, and I became a believer at that moment because I wasn't always on the Ian Gary hype train, but I do think the kid is that good. And in this one, it is going to be interesting though because Jeff Neal presents a unique challenge on the feet. If we really inspect Ian Gary's UFC tenure thus far, there's been one bad round, one bad moment, and it was that first round against Song Kanan when Ian Gary got absolutely dropped by Song Kanan. So one thing that if I'm a Jeff Neal fan and I'm riding with Hands of Steel in this one, that to me could inspire some confidence because Jeff Neal hits probably just as hard, if not harder than Song Kanan, and his boxing is even better. So if he's able to connect on Ian Gary, which some, again, not many have, but some have in the UFC, then maybe Jeff Neal is going to come in here and find a way to pick up a finish. But if we look at Tapology, only 37% is rolled Hands of Steel. It's basically all Brown, though, so they do think that if Jeff gets this done, it's by some sort of brutal KO finish. And 63%, meanwhile, is going with Gary. A lot of beige for the decision. If you're taking the future in this one, do you agree with Tapology that decision is most likely, or any chance Ian Gary, just like how Shavkat was able to, picks up a late finish?
I think it will be a finish. I don't think it gets past. I think it might end later in the fight. I don't think there's going to be a first round knockout. I think it's going to be a second or a third round. This is going to be a competitive fight, but I think it will be domination for 10 minutes or so and then a finish at the end.
Yeah, good stuff. Very interesting. And if he is able to get a finish, that being Machado Gary, then he'll solidify his, nearly 2-1 stature in this one, and probably puts him maybe one or two fights away from a title fight. So everyone can keep commenting, everyone can keep hating on the guy, but until he loses, he still is going to remain a problem in this division. So I'm gonna go Ian Gary. I'm gonna go Ian Gary by decision, though. I can see this fight being maybe similar to how Ponzinibbio versus Jeff Neal looked, where it's actually pretty close, and then ultimately it's maybe not necessarily a split decision, but a close decision nonetheless. So I'm going to go with a close decision win for Ian Gary. He's going to cut some sort of promo. He's going to rile up all the fans again, and I think the journey will continue for Machado Gary. But let's continue our journey, people. We got two more fights on this one. What do we got next?
Yeah, obviously this one is an absolute banger. Robert Whitaker, Bobby Knuckles, he's back. I feel like this fight is a dream fight that we've been all craving for about 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it's been. And I will be surprised if Paulo Costa shows up because he hasn't in the last few times where they were supposed to fight. I think maybe one time Whitaker had medical stuff, but beside the point, most likely it's Paulo Costa. He's kind of a needy person, but it seems that they secured him. He got the bag that he was happy with, and now he's here.
Yeah, he's here. The fight, as of, we're recording this cast on Monday. The fight's still on as of now, so hopefully this remains the case in a couple of days. But you mentioned these two were supposed to fight. These guys have been linked many times before, right? The first was they're supposed to fight in UFCN on ESPN 22 way back in April of 2021. Paulo Costa withdrew in that one with an injury, and then they were also supposed to fight at UFC 284, and what do you know, Costa disputed the official announcement, said he never signed a contract, and then the fight got yanked as a result. So always some weird stuff going on with Costa, but maybe third time is the charm in this one, and it'll be good to see. I mean, I'm hopeful that Costa shows up because we haven't seen him since that epic fight against Luke Rockhold way back in August of 2022. I mean, it's weird to think that Costa's last fight, I mean, it makes sense, but Luke Rockhold's just been out of the UFC for so long, and it's wild to remember that Costa's last fight was that fight of the night performance against him. But nonetheless, it was a good performance for the Eraser. Was able to right the ship because if you remember, he had lost two straight. got absolutely finished by Israel Adesanya. Easy light work for his title opportunity. And then Marvin Vettori won a pretty close contest, but that was a weird one. They were fighting at light heavyweight for basically no reason, and Paulo did not look inspired in that one. So for him to come back, get that win over Luke was awesome. But again, it was over a year ago, about almost 2 years ago, basically. So taking on Whitaker, who one thing I find interesting about Whitaker is that rarely is this guy coming into a contest off a loss, but Duplessis, we know the story, right? Just last summer, found a way to finish Whitaker in a fight where no one really anticipated DDP even winning that fight, let alone picking up a finish. So an interesting nugget in the sense that Whitaker's coming in having just gotten flatlined essentially. Does that inspire confidence for you? I mean, Whitaker to me might be a guy who you finish this guy, he's coming back twice as hungry, twice as gritty, twice as ready, or is his chin broken and the eraser is going to put the finishing touch on it?
Man, it's so hard to say because Bobby Knuckles, he's easily one of the best, if not the best, ever to do it. Besides Izzy, but maybe his time's up. Everyone has an expiration date. We saw Izzy. He's done so. Sean Strickland took his soul, and now Dricus took Sean Strickland's soul. So I don't know if Whitaker is still gonna be that guy like the Max Holloway, just so always peaking, but had one or two bad performances, which you're human, so it makes sense. Or is this the downfall and this is the rise of Paulo? Because yeah, Paulo didn't look good, then he did look good. Which Paulo are we getting? The wine Paulo or the discipline, secret juice Paulo? I hope it's secret juice because this is an absolute fight for the fans. Really, this fight is so sick. Everyone's anticipating it. It's like Yoel Romero versus Bobby Knuckles, but a younger Yoel. Like it's just such a sick matchup. So I'm very excited for this. I gotta take my boy Bobby Knuckles though. I think he's gonna get it done.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, as Costa fans, we could only hope that he's been erasing more work than he has been wine, but you just never know with what you're going to get from Paulo Costa, and it's always tough to bet against the Reaper Whitaker. And if you look at Tapology, 81% is obviously avoiding that. They're rolling with Whitaker. 81% majority beige for the decision. 19 though is going with Costa. It's a lot of brown, which I thought was a little bit surprising, but I guess it makes sense. Maybe some believe that Whitaker's chin, DDP took it with him, and Eraser is going to be able to Mihoy the rest of it. But if you're going with Whitaker, Meat Boy, do you think that he's able to roll out a decision in this one, or any chance Whitaker finds a way to finish the Eraser?
Man, I think this has to be a decision. I think either the Eraser finishes Bobby Knuckles or Bobby Knuckles wins by decision because there's one thing that Eraser has shown is that he is one tough son of a gun and he does not get finished. The only time he's been finished that I can think of is when Izzy clipped him on the Temple of Doom and he went to the shadow roll on that one. I just don't think that Bobby Knuckles has that kind of precision, speed, and power where he's going to put him out. If he does put him out from gas tank, but I don't know. If Paulo's on the secret juice, I don't think he's going to have a gas tank problem.
Yeah, in 16 professional fights, the only time he's been finished, that being the Eraser, was to Izzy. And then if we look at Whitaker, I mean, historically, at least throughout the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years in the UFC, he's been a decision machine, right? Vittori decision, Gastelum, Cannonier, Till, all decisions. Yoel Romero twice, 2 decisions. His last finish, Whitaker, was 2017 against Jacare in a performance of the night. So it would be difficult for me to see him picking up a finish against the Eraser, but I'm gonna be looking at third round TKO just to see what that, if it's minus 1600, maybe it's worth a slight dink because perhaps Costa comes in here and just gets outclassed, finds an exit in round 3. But to your point, the dude is tough as nails. So I think Whitaker by decision is going to be my pick officially. I think that he should be able to get this one done, but again, we're just hopeful that this fight remains intact. Hopefully the Eraser shows up because I think he'll be able to steal the show Moicano style if he's able to make it to the press conference and fire off some meat rockets for sure. But nonetheless, any last thoughts? We're both going Whitaker. OGM time?
Yeah, meat event time, OGM. This fight's crazy. I really don't know who I'm picking yet.
Yeah, it's some serious beef stirred in the stew. Alex Volkanovski, aka OGM, aka Alexander the Great, is taking on Ilia Topuria, who, I mean, if we're talking about Pfeiffer and he's sniffing something, I gotta imagine Topuria is on that same smell schedule because This guy, if you already check his bio, he says he's 15-0. He's 14-0. He says he's the UFC champion. He's currently the #1 contender and is challenging for the belt. But nonetheless, Topuria, no shortage of confidence, even though he's taken on Volkanovski, who has been just truly dominant in this division. I mean, we know the recent stories, right? Volkanovski was going for greatness. He was going for the double champ. The first fight, many believe he won against Islam, and then in the second opportunity, we know the story on the outside, right? He had a lot of distractions and decided to take the rematch on essentially 3 weeks' notice. It turned out not to be a good idea as he got head kicked into oblivion, but I can't imagine that just because Islam is able to beat him twice, that suddenly Ilia Topuria is going to be able to come in here and just dominate him in a division where Volkanovski has only ever been doing the dominating. But nonetheless, again, Topuria undefeated, some solid wins that you have to give him credit for. Damon Jackson, he finished, great win. Bryce Mitchell, he made look very easy. Performance of the night, finish there. And then most recently, he just really put a brutal beating on Josh Emmett. So not to take anything away from Topuria, we've been seeing his praise since the very beginning. I mean, all the Georgia meatheads have been rolling with Topuria for many, many years now, as have we. But he's kind of rubbed me the wrong way recently, Meat Boy. I don't like the disrespect that he's offering towards OGM, and I think that Volkanovski's getting this one done. So, what are your thoughts on this meat event? Do you think Topuria is as good as he says he is, and he's really just going to steamroll Volkanovski?
I mean, like, I hate to say I hope that's true because I want to see someone that's, striving for this greatness. And you beat Volk, like, you're GOAT. Like, that's crazy. But I think this guy is, he's sniffing too many body bag, farts, sniffing too many triple C farts. And he might be just sniffing a whole bunch of bloody knuckle sandwiches that Volk's going to deliver. So I feel bad for the mate. He's going to be sipping wine with a bloody face. But I think Volk's got this. This isn't Volk's first rodeo. I mean, how many people have said this to Volk, and then Volk just shows his body that's 5'1" is just faster, stronger, better, and everything, and you just can't figure it out. So I think that's where I stand on that, and but I hope that he can back it up, but I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's a lot of fart sniffing we see right now.
Yeah, I mean, Volkanovski has seen this story many times with featherweight opponents, right? Guys coming in saying they're going to be the one to get it done. I mean, Max Holloway got pretty close, but ultimately was unsuccessful. T City got kind of close at one moment, but was unsuccessful. Yair was talking a big game. Many thought he had a good opportunity, but he got finished in the third round. So we've seen guys come in here and say they're going to do one thing to Volkanovski, but then Volkanovski is able to do another to them. But Topuria is operating with a unique sense of self-belief. I mean, the guy truly is locked in. You do wonder if he's getting humbled and is maybe going to hit the wine bar with Costa afterwards. But nonetheless, if we look at Tapology, Meat Boy, 59% is rolling Volkanovski, 41% is going Topuria. And one thing that kind of surprised me was of the 41% Topuria backers, a lot of it, in fact, like 80% of it is Brown. They think that Ilya's getting that KO finish. If Topuria is able to win in this fight, what would you say would be the most likely pathway? Do you think Topuria by KO would be most likely, Topuria by submission, or maybe even Topuria by decision if there was an Ilya pathway?
Honestly, I think if Ilya does win, and it is a possibility, it has to be by finished. I mean, I don't think we've seen Topuria not finish somebody, so that's kind of his recipe. And going the distance with Volk, I just don't see it. 5 rounds with Volk, I just don't see it. I mean, his pace, his cardio is absolutely unmatched, and Toporia's never done a 5 rounder or gone to the fifth. So this is some new waters if it goes there. So I think it needs to be done in 3 rounds. If it goes past the third round, I think Volk is going to destroy him from beginning to end.
Yeah, just quick correction. Topuria had never gone 5 rounds, but that fight against Emmett most recently was his first. Remember, it was a UFC on the ABC card. He got the main event opportunity. It was a 5 round fight that did go the distance. So in that one, to me, that was inspiring in the sense that at least we know Ilya can go 25 minutes. But That was 25 minutes against Josh Emmett. This is 25 minutes against Volkanovski. So you wonder if that'll be different. You mentioned the body of Volkanovski. I mean, Topuria is a legit 145 pounder. He fought that one fight at 155, if you remember, almost fake lost, got almost cracked by Jai Herbert, decided he had to head back to 145. But you mentioned the body of Volkanovski, and this guy, again, we know he's from Wingdang Wollongong, and he was an absolute monster rugby player pre MMA career, and he was upwards of 215, 220 pounds. So this guy is just structurally built way different, I think, than Topuria, and I think that the strength is going to be huge in this one. I just don't see a world where Topuria is able to beat Volkanovski literally anywhere. I can't see Volkanovski getting slept on the feet. I struggle to see a world where Topuria can submit Volkanovski on the ground just because Volkanovski is pretty keen down there as well. So I'm with Volkanovski in this one. I think he finds a way to actually win a decision this one because I can see a world where Ilya is able to survive and Volk just puts it on him for 5 straight rounds, or maybe it's even competitive, but Volk and ultimately ends with a decision. But I'm gonna go Volkanovski. I'm gonna roll with the 59% of Tapology backers, and I'm also gonna go by decision. So, any last thoughts on this meat event? On you, 298 meat boy. I mean, I feel like these are just bangers, start to finish.
Yeah, no, absolute bangers from beginning to end. Throw in the comments, are you taking the Volk, or are you taking Taporia and you like the cheese and wine?